What's up, folks? This is Michael on the graveyard shift in the wee hours of the night with your daily trivia question once again. Happy Thursday. I hope you're staying dry. It is pouring down rain right now, and it's likely to stay that way for the rest of the day into Friday, but we're wrapping up the week. And if you're like me, go outside and play in it. That's what I'm talking about. All right, folks, let's get right to it. The answer, there's a lot to get to, too. A lot of, love that song. There's a lot of information on the answer to the previous trivia question, which was, of course, the United Nations. So the United Nations is a global diplomatic and political organization dedicated to international peace and stability. That's kind of like a sum of the mission and vision goal of the whole UN. The UN was officially established in 1945 following the horrific events of World War II. However, it has its origins actually in World War I, where the international group developed called the League of Nations, if you recall correctly from your high school history class, which helped to end World War I. They solved disputes between countries at that time. When World War II started and broke out and eventually ended, there was an obvious need for multiple reasons for a new and reformed organization that could promote and maintain global peace better and avoid the further issues of future wars, the further horrific occurrences that were experienced in World War I and especially in World War II. The title United Nations was first adopted to identify the countries that allied against Germany, Italy, and Japan. Germany, of course, being the Nazi regime, Italy, fascism, and Mussolini, and Japan, of course, bombed Pearl Harbor. So initially there was just 51 member states, which is still impressive back then in and of itself. And today the organization has 193 members, and it is headquartered in the middle of New York City, which was the focus, of course, of the trivia question. New members must be recommended by the United Nations Security Council and accepted by a 2/3 vote from the General Assembly. So there's a process to join in the UN. Most UN initiatives include humanitarian efforts like preventing conflict, ensuring peace. They provide food all over the world and medical assistance in emergencies. They offer humanitarian support to millions of people. They provide food, like I was saying, in 75 countries. They assist refugees, work to minimize climate change. You may have heard recently the UN being on the news pushing efforts for climate change. I believe President Obama made a very effective speech to the United Nations for climate change within the last 6 months to a year. They help out with elections all over the world. They provide vaccinations, believe it or not, and they protect overall human rights through various treaties and declarations. They have not been without their criticisms, however. When you have an organization that large that deals with countries from all over the world, it breaks down to politics, and when you have politics and that many people meeting at once, you're going to have some people who criticize the organization. Some people believe that the organization may be overstepping its boundaries, which you can imagine, or is not being effective enough. One extreme to the other, right? Some people think that the United Nations are too bureaucratic, which would make sense with, when you have a pressing circumstance in countries and they need assistance immediately. There's protocols and votes that the UN have to go through and so forth. And people think that it just takes too long and they're too bureaucratic. Some people think they spend too much money on one country or an issue and not enough on other countries and other issues. And you're going to have those kind of disagreements. Many world leaders make speeches at the United Nations. Some have made significant speeches, very historical speeches. President Obama, like I said, did a speech on climate change, which went around the country, went around the world. Castro has spoken at the United Nations. Khrushchev is famous for taking off his shoe, I think, and banging it on a podium. I have a picture of it down there in the lower right at the United Nations. There's only 195 countries in the world, if my research serves me correctly, and 193 of them are members of the UN. So just about everybody is a member of the United Nations, to include all the hot spots that you might think we're not in an organization like that. To Korea, Iran, Iraq, all of those countries are members of the United Nations. Now, some of them have been sanctioned, as you can imagine, for doing some of the things that they do. A majority of international leaders and experts agree that the United Nations continues to play a critical role in securing peace, stability, and prosperity throughout the world. And I think for the most part they do. I think Indonesia recently left the UN. There is a protocol and a statute of sorts, if you will, in the United Nations protocol of things, where you can be removed from the United Nations. But if my research serves me correctly, that no, that has not happened to date. So that's the United Nations kind of in a nutshell. Research it further if you like to. All right, folks, let's get through Thursday and get to Friday. Wrap up the week, why don't we, with a brand new trivia question for December 15th. Here we go. On this day, in 2001, after a group of 14 archaeologists, architects, and soil experts spent $27 million in renovations, this reopens to the public, and it still had its famous flaw. Good luck, folks. I'll see you next time. Stay dry. Have a good day. Peace out.